to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, powered by FC Cincinnati supporters. Get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at cincysoccertalk@spnt.tv. Now, here is your host, Nick Suberling.
Hey, what's happening, Cincinnati Soccer Talkers? Welcome to episode 92 of the podcast. Glad you're with us. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We've got a lot to discuss this week. We're going to be joined by the newest FC Cincinnati member, Forrest Lasso. An announcement today that he has signed, coming over from the Charleston Battery. We're going to talk about his arrival to Cincinnati. And, of course, we're going to hear from FC Cincinnati President and General Manager Jeff Berding a little bit later on in the program as well. Of course, we want to hear from you, folks. Get in touch with us on the King's Hammer hotline tonight, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. If you don't want to get in touch with us on the phone, you can always tweet us at Cincy Soccer Talk on the Twitters, or you can email us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Let's welcome in my partners for this week, my podcast professionals, as I like to call them. We'll start with the one and only Brian Weigel. Brian, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. A rash of signings. FC Cincinnati continuously in the media cycle, and I get to spend a whole hour talking FC Cincinnati with you guys and not having to listen to my brother. So that's always a positive.
Your brother is involved tonight. Brad screening the calls for us tonight, but it's always I love the brotherly love between you two.
Good C squad player. He's a good helper.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. Let's also welcome in the main man, the lone wolf, Bill Wolf, welcoming back to the show. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Lost power the last couple of days with all that crazy wind we had here in Cincinnati. I had a cold night Saturday, a very cold Sunday morning, but Duke pulled it off. I still got roads shut down, but the lights are on.
And that's the most important thing. We've got you here. We've got the voice of reason here on the show tonight, and glad to have you back. Looking forward to getting your take on all things FCC.
Yeah, that's right. Power was number one. Internet was number two. Boom.
That's usually the way it goes around here. Good to have you back. And, of course, we welcome in the newest member of the Cincinnati Soccer Talk team. You've seen him on the website writing some fantastic pieces. He's making his podcast debut, the one and only Rob Pierce. Rob, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Thank you. You're a brave man for having me on, Subes. There's a reason that my background is in print and not broadcasting. I've been told many times that I have a good radio voice. That may be true, but I also have a good radio face. I'm best heard and not seen. So if our ratings or views take a dip, you guys will know why. But maybe we need more of Griffin's angry Brian Weigel heads. Those are very amusing. I love the way this caught fire on our Slack channel. That would bump the ratings back up, I think.
I think that would look good there behind the wall, there on behind you, a little angry Brian.
It should. I should invest in that.
Well, we're glad you're with us. We are glad you have joined the Cincinnati Soccer Talk team. We'll get into a little bit later on. We'll get a little bit of a deeper introduction into who you are and how you became a fan of FC Cincinnati and your background. But before we can do that, we are really excited to have on the King's Hammer hotline the newest addition to the Cincinnati soccer scene, the one and only Forrest Lasso, now joining us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Forrest, welcome to the Queen City, my friend.
What's happening,
you?
Guys? I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Congratulations on your arrival to town. Talk about that process. How did that even come about?
Yeah, it's I'm excited. It's a real opportunity. This is something that I didn't know was actually going to be happening in the future, but it's something I'm looking forward to. I obviously playing against Cincinnati the past 2 years, they've been enemies of the Battery or of myself. But now that I can call the orange and blue home, it's something I'm looking forward to. And honestly, I wish I was up there right now. I wish I could get up there tomorrow and start getting to work. But patience is a virtue, so I got to wait a little bit, but we'll get there.
Well, you said you're the newest member of FC Cincinnati officially. I've seen a lot of your Instagram posts lately. You seem to be a pretty big hit on social media. First off, when are you moving up to Cincinnati, and what are you doing to keep busy during the off season so far?
Still in talks with Cincinnati and stuff. I think my plan is to be up there the first week or second week in January, into the new year, start getting to work right away. In the off season, I for those, I mean, obviously everyone that followed the playoffs, we lost a couple weeks back. I had a few things to wrap up in Charleston, figuring out, my future, and obviously that future involves Cincinnati. But I'm going to head home for the holidays. I have 4 younger siblings, the youngest of which is 12, who actually made his middle school basketball team today. So got big news in the Lasso household. So I'm going to go home for Thanksgiving, spend some time with my younger siblings, spend some time with my family. Haven't been able to go back home much in the past couple of years, so go spend as much time as I can for the holidays. Move back up to Cincinnati in January and get to work. But besides spending time with the family and hanging out, training every day, staying in shape, obviously I can't keep myself off the ball. It's an addiction.
Sure. Well, you're a huge guy, 6'5", I believe, or at least close to that. But you said you have a couple siblings. I don't know, are they all as big as you? And who eats the most turkey on Thanksgiving?
Oh man, good question. So yeah, I'm the oldest of 5. I have a brother, Cullen, who's 22, lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a sister, Sarah Grace, 20, goes to Ole Miss. She's a sophomore in school. And then I have 2 younger brothers, Sutton and Manning, who are 14 and 12, 9th grade and 7th grade. Who eats the most turkey? Wow. I guess I would like to think I do, considering I'm the biggest at 6'6", but I think the 2 youngest probably, considering, as I said, they're growing. They can't stop eating. Every time I've seen them in Charleston or on the road, they appear to be eating 3 or 4 meals every time we sit down. So I think they top me.
Hey, Forrest, Rob Pierce here. What excites you the most about coming to Cincinnati?
Oh, man. Great question. I kind of knew this one was coming. I anticipated it. Obviously, the fan base. I don't want to say the fan base because I feel like that's every incoming player's answer to what excites them the most. So, to contradict myself, I'm first going to say the fan base. Super excited to play in front of those people. I mean, I can name support groups on and on. I don't know them all, so I'm not going to do it. I don't want to mess up, and too, I kind of want to put a face to the name. But being able to come to Cincinnati the past 2 years and seeing the environment and the atmosphere that y'all have produced in that city, it's as a competitor, as an athlete, as a soccer player, it's contagious. I mean, it's something that you dream of as you're a little kid. But honestly, you said you follow me on social media or whatever it may be. I love the community. I love giving back. I love the kids. Having 4 younger siblings, I still always the hashtag little kid big body. I still have that little kid in me. No matter how old you grow, I still try to have fun in everyday tasks, whether it's just putting a smile on your face or whatever it may be. But I'm mostly looking forward to getting up there and just meeting the crew, meeting the family, meeting the squad, meeting the management, meeting everybody involved with the operation, and trying to bring something to the city that hasn't been brought there yet. And I think that answer would be championships. So looking forward to what we can bring or what I can contribute to FC Cincinnati's caliber.
You mentioned that you had looked forward to playing FC Cincinnati the last few years every time you would come to town. When you saw FC Cincinnati on the schedule when you were with the Battery, was it something that you and your teammates would get really excited about? Like, you're going to play in front of a raucous crowd. Was it something that you talked about?
Most definitely. It's definitely, I mean, from all the teams in USL on the East Coast and West Coast, you have those teams that get lower fans or fewer fans than Cincinnati or Louisville or whoever it may be. And that obviously weighs into the game. I can remember personally just last year preparing the weeks or 2 weeks prior to Cincinnati. You're preparing for the style of play. The style of play y'all had last year was unparalleled to a few. But the fans, that's something that takes some serious adjustment. Serious adjustment. So to be able to walk into Nippert, CBA, maybe a new home here soon, but to be able to walk into Cincinnati and have those fans rooting for me instead of against me, it's definitely going to be a nice change of scenery.
I was actually going to ask roughly that question for us. I was going to say, how intimidating was it to be, on the back line right in front of the Bailey when you were in Nippert Stadium?
Oh man. The Bailey, they're brutal, and I love it. Walking out, as many Cincinnati fans know, when you walk out for the introductory lineups, the Bailey and the rest of the crowd at Nippert Stadium is supporting and cheering for the home team, which is, it's chilling. It puts chills on you. But walking into Nippert Stadium as an away guest or as a guest, as an away fan, or an away team, it's a tough pill to swallow. The nerves and all the feelings just kind of take over immediately, and you almost for an instance forget what the reason is you're there for. We with Charleston, when I played the past couple of years, we had some pretty decent success in Cincinnati, but I think that is a rarity, or very lucky considering the atmosphere that Cincinnati's produced for soccer.
It's probably good defense is what it was, but so when you mentioned marching onto the field, were you aware of the Bailey Bastards? I mean, they were one of the supporters groups right in the corner as you're marching onto the field, and I think they besides being huge fans of Harrison Delbridge, they also had this knack for intimidating teams as they marched onto the field.
Yeah, they definitely succeeded in their intimidation. Small little side note: Harrison Delbridge and I actually played high school and club soccer growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, for a little bit. So it was always cool being able to come to Cincinnati and see an old face. Did I know who the Bailey Bastards were specifically? Maybe. I'm going to say maybe. I knew a handful of supporters groups. Obviously, Twitter and social media does justice for putting everybody on that platform. I don't know them individually or as well or specifically, but I'm looking forward to meeting them. But when you walk into Denver Stadium, or you walk into wherever it may be, and you walk into Cincinnati, and you have those fans and that passion and that commitment to the club and to the success, it's something that definitely pushes you back. As an away team or an away player the past 2 years, it took some serious mental adjustment, and just in order to walk out there to warm up. Getting into game time or talking about the whole 90 minutes is a whole different story. Just being able to walk onto the field to warm up was a battle in itself.
Hey, Forrest, Rob again. This club is pretty much reassembling their back line, especially at center back. You're the third new addition that the club has announced. What will you guys have to do to get used to each other and to get used to some of the returning players? What kind of a learning curve do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, with adjustments to rosters, which is inevitable in this business, it's something that happens. But I think one of the biggest things, and as a center back, I know I'm naturally biased, but communication is something that helps us succeed. You can ask the goalkeeper, you can ask the outside backs, fullbacks, holding mids, you can ask whoever. If you can communicate as a squad all the way from the goalkeeper to the front runner, you're all on the same page and moving into the same vibes, then I think you can play a soccer that's prettier than none. As a defender's perspective, as long as you can be on the same page with the guy to your right and the guy to your left, and for me as a left center back, that means one more guy to my right. If we can all be on the same page, moving as one collective unit, then we can approach all of our tasks as one instead of four individuals. So it's just playing together, just getting out there, learning how a guy is, learning his tendencies, learning what he's more comfortable with, what he's more comfortable not with, and trying to iron out the few wrinkles you do have. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're all professionals here, and we know our job is to step out onto the pitch and perform. And I think doing that to your best ability takes communication at the end of the day.
Now, Forrest, as I said earlier, you've been really kind of a fun follow on social media, Instagram, Twitter. Today, you put out your chasing the dream. I believe is what you put on as one of the hashtags. So this question kind of comes from the FC Cincinnati subreddit from DatDude2012. Did the idea of FC Cincinnati being an MLS expansion team sway any of your decision in coming to Cincinnati this season?
Great question. It did. Honestly, it definitely weighed into my decision. Like Mike might have said earlier today, hashtag dream chasing. That's the journey of just a little kid from Raleigh living his dream, playing soccer every day. Growing up, that was all it was, just stepping onto the field and just playing soccer, nothing else to it. Cincinnati is, in the past 2 seasons, now going into our third season, it's incredible to see the growth and the expansion the club has had in the soccer world. So obviously, with all the MLS drama coming around the corner, it's definitely something that I've talked about with my agent and I've talked about with Cincinnati, and Cincinnati has done the same. That's a conversation that's in the soccer world and being had on a daily basis. Y'all obviously know that a lot better than I do, being in Cincinnati. But yeah, definitely weighed into it. I guess we'll find out here in the next couple of weeks what our future entails. But this is a cliche answer, but I kind of I look forward to tomorrow. I appreciate today, and I just leave it at that. I'm going to try to go out tomorrow better than I was today, and I'll worry about the next day afterwards tomorrow. So that's a little cliche, but I'm more worried about hopefully winning us a championship in this 2018 season, and we'll attack or approach MLS in that 2019 year afterwards, but one step at a time.
I do want I do want to give you absolute credit about that. People have been just going crazy on social media. Our Twitter followers have just been blowing you up today. And I do want to absolutely give you credit. Is the first thing you said the entire time is, let's win championships. Let's win championships. And I know a lot of people say that, but that's not the first thing people hear out of all the new FC Cincinnati players. So I do want to give you 100% props on that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of, I don't want to reiterate it, but one of the foundations for me, something that's kind of, keeping me driving forward is, hey, focus on the task at hand today. We'll worry about tomorrow once the day's over. And the day after that, it's just kind of a present or a gift. So, obviously 2019 and MLS it's an opportunity. Soccer, Cincinnati, myself, y'all, I mean, something that none of us want to turn down. It's an opportunity that's unbelievable. But at the same time, I think that I was brought in. And as the conversations I've had with some Cincinnati representatives, I was brought in to do my job today and do my job tomorrow. And for me, that's, securing the back line or being whatever contribution I can to the team and bringing some trophies and some silverware back to Cincinnati.
Excellent. So, Forrest, this is Bill one more time. Obviously, you've been to Cincinnati to play games against FC Cincinnati, but have you ever been to Cincinnati in the past just to visit the city itself? And if you have,
I
what
have
was your
not.
perception? You haven't. Okay. What's your expectations from the city itself?
Man.
Not from the games or the fans, but the city.
Do you like bourbon?
So I don't know if this is a good answer or not to have, considering it's day one, but one of the things that interviews or not, whatever it may be, someone said, hey, if you had to go to a bar and I was going to buy you a drink, what would I buy you? And I'm not a huge beer guy. Obviously, doing this every day is something that I try to limit, but I always said my favorite drink to this day, it started back when I was 18, was bourbon and OJ. I don't know, it's a little absurd, it's a little crazy. No one else likes it, but always was a bourbon drinker and always loved orange juice. So the two became one for me, and but definitely something I look forward to.
Well,
I'm getting a Lasso jersey. It's official.
Well, one of the things you're going to look forward to here in the Queen City, Forrest, and that is Skyline Chili. Have you heard of Skyline Chili?
I've heard about it. Oh, yeah. That was something that a lot of my friends that are from Cincinnati or been through Cincinnati, as soon as they heard the news, you got to swing by Skyline. They got to, buy 3 or buy 5 and get something on the side or another, some crazy deal. But, yeah, I grew up on chili. Got a handful of family recipes, so I'm looking forward to getting up there and trying some Skyline.
That's the right answer. You've already won over the fan base with that answer right there, Forrest. I'm not going to lie. We'll get you out of here on this question, and it's an important one to our fan base, but we want to know, how much do you hate Louisville?
Considering y'all's geographic proximity and considering what Louisville has done to me in the past 3 years as a Charleston Battery player, I would just say it's safe to say that our hatred is mutual.
Yes.
There are a lot of teams out there and players that I love. I respect them for doing the same thing I'm doing, but there are also those clubs and teams that, hey, when you crush a man's dreams once, it's one thing. When you crush a man's dreams twice, I'm coming for you.
Wow.
Right.
Can you suit up tomorrow for us? We're ready.
That's what I was saying from the beginning of the phone call. Let's rock tomorrow.
Off the chain.
We love it. And we're so glad you're here in the Queen City, Forrest. And we're looking forward to a really big 2018 and beyond. We appreciate you joining us here. I mean, I know it's only been a whirlwind 24 hours for you, but we're glad you took the time to join us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and looking forward to catching up with you again real soon.
Yeah, man, most definitely. I appreciate y'all letting me come on the show. This was an honor.
Well, it was an honor for us. Thanks, Forrest, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Yes, sir. Likewise. Share the love for me.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It's the newest center back for FC Cincinnati, Forrest Lasso, joining us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk on the Kings Hammer Hotline. So good stuff there from Forrest. Whew. We want to hear from you, though, folks. 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. Brad Weigel standing by, ready to take your call, and lots to discuss this week. Forrest Lasso, in case you're just joining us late, it was announced today by FC Cincinnati that he has joined the club, and he is the newest center back for FC Cincinnati, and he's going to be a good one. We're really, when we heard he was coming to town, I think all of us, Bri, including you, were pretty geeked.
I mean, heck yeah! When we were kind of putting our off-season big board together, And I messaged him this earlier. I mean, he was at the top of that center back list. There's not, in Division II soccer, Division III soccer in the United States and North America, there's not too many certain things. And when you can go out and get a player who day one can step in and be one of the best players in the league at his position, you go out and do that. And this is what this position is. Dekel Kynan, Patty Barrett, they're probably going to be solid players in their own right, but they don't know what it's like to go into a Harrisburg. They don't know what it's like to go down to Louisville. And Forrest Lasso brings that for FC Cincinnati this season, and I don't think that can be understated.
So for more information on FC Cincinnati's newest signing, make sure you log on to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Check out our piece that we put out, Forrest Lasso, the newest member, joining us from the Charleston Battery. That's a big deal, folks. You should be on board. You should be excited about this signing. There's no question about it. We got off to a little bit of a late start, and because of that, we missed some important information, and I'm going to throw this out there now.
Captain.
We have an episode captain this week, everybody. Give it up for Brian Malone, the newest Cincinnati Soccer Talk captain. He was a supporter. He increased his support this week. Brian, we appreciate you being the episode captain this week. If you want to become an episode captain of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, log on to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. We also need to give a big shout out and thanks to all of our big time supporters: Matt Adamczyk, Tim Bronsel, Pat Suberling, Mama Subs. I mentioned Brian, Jamie Smed, Mike Hudson, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, and Josh Staley. They are our big-time supporters. We got to give them a big shout-out, and thanks for their support here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. All right, so now that we've gotten that taken care of, I had a chance this afternoon to catch up with one Jeff Birding, president and general manager of FC Cincinnati, after their conference call today with Major League Soccer and the Hamilton County Commissioners. And here's what Jeff had to say this afternoon. If you had a meeting today with Major League Soccer and the Hamilton County Commissioners, he just sent out a press release as well. Tell fans of FC Cincinnati how that went today.
It was great. We were really happy to host the teleconference. We met with the Hamilton County Commission, the board, led by their president, Todd Portune, their administrator, Jeff Aludo, representatives of the other two county commissioners, as well as the county prosecutor. We were all in a room here in Cincinnati, and we had MLS executives on the phone. And we talked at length about MLS's stated priority for a soccer-specific stadium as a need for MLS expansion. We had a really in-depth discussion regarding Paul Brown Stadium as a proposed home of FC Cincinnati. We talked about why Paul Brown, has challenges regarding fan experience, the operational infrastructure, as well as the economics to all the parties. And MLS really provided, I thought, good answers. I think they were viewed as helpful on why a soccer-specific stadium is a key to a team's viability and to the growth of the league, and was therefore stated as a priority if FC Cincinnati is going to win a bid.
Last week, the commissioners were, I don't know if bullish is the right word, Jeff, but they made it pretty clear that they wanted to try Paul Brown Stadium. And after today's conversation, do you think they've been swayed by what MLS had to say?
Well, let me start with this. We have always taken the position that Hamilton County has an obligation to taxpayers to explore Paul Brown Stadium. And that's why we wanted to have the discussion today. The taxpayers have over $1 billion invested at Paul Brown Stadium. And it's appropriate that the county says, gee, we really want to see if we can find a way to get more use out of that investment. And so we've never been opposed to the conversation. We were just pretty certain what the conclusion would be, but we wanted the commission to arrive at that conclusion themselves. I believe that was the outcome from today. I want to be fair that, Todd Portune will need to make a recommendation to his two fellow commissioners. They were represented today by staff, but, all three commissioners were not on the call. And so I want to allow the process to work where Todd Portune will talk to his two colleagues But I certainly want to say that Commission President Portune indicated that Hamilton County does want to be supportive of our bid. They do want to see Cincinnati land an MLS expansion franchise, and they understand that FC Cincinnati, that our ownership group led by Carl Lindner, have committed that we're going to privately fund that soccer-specific stadium. So there is a need for a new stadium in order to win the bid, and we're going to pay for it privately. And so I think that was helpful. Our commitment, it was said that it was a game changer. Our hope is here over the next few days, we get the right feedback from the county commission. We continue to work with Cincinnati City Council members, and we see if we can make this plan work for Cincinnati and winning the bid.
I know you've got a busy week ahead, and obviously with the Thanksgiving holiday coming up, and everybody can be busy.
Holiday? There's a holiday this week?
That's true. That's a good point. I know you're a busy man, and everybody down in Hamilton County, the city, there at FC Cincinnati are quite busy. Give us a sense of what the timeline is like over the next 2 weeks, because believe it or not, we're almost to December, and we're kind of up against it.
Yeah, we are. There's no question. So here's, I think we'll continue to have conversations this week with the members of Cincinnati City Council, with the County Commission, with the city administration, to continue to work on the infrastructure plan that is needed to support a privately paid for soccer-specific stadium in Oakley. As the mayor said, regardless of whether or not a stadium is built in Oakley or not, there are infrastructure needs to support the growth that is occurring in Oakley. And it's growth that needs to be sensitive to the needs of residents and business owners in Oakley that call Oakley home. And so we're going to continue to work on that this week. I think the expectation is next week, Monday the 4th, there will be a finance committee meeting at the city of Cincinnati. Those are usually at 1 o'clock, but we'll make sure we tweet it out. I'll call on all FC Cincinnati supporters to come to that finance committee meeting at City Hall. And then on the 6th, the Wednesday, December the 6th, I would envision that the full Cincinnati City Council will meet to consider and vote on Mayor Cranley's plan. There certainly could be a public hearing on I'm sorry, I may have gotten the dates wrong. The 27th will be the Finance Committee meeting, and then the 28th could be a public hearing, and then the 29th of November would be the full Cincinnati City Council meeting. And then the commission, the county commission, likely will follow regarding its commitment to fund a parking garage, would likely follow on that similar timeline, the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th of November. At that point, we have the first week of December where we have to get all of our finalized plans up to this point, in effect, putting our best foot forward. That is due with the MLS that first week of December, the week of December the 4th. And I think, as folks know, that they'll have an owners meeting, a full owners meeting on December the 14th. So you're looking at, really the next 2 weeks being our last chance to get everything wrapped up so that we can send everything up first week of December to support the expansion committee, and then the full owners group meeting on the 14th of December. And then obviously the expectation would be we get some kind of word shortly thereafter.
I know you're up against it, a lot of days remaining. I know there's been talk about different stadium sites. At this point, with the amount of days left, it almost seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, it seems like you're full go 100% now, stadium here in Cincinnati. And really, I feel like Newport hasn't really been talked a whole lot about.
Oh, well, thank you for asking me. I was completely focused on the Cincinnati piece only because we had the meeting today with the Hamilton County Commissioners and the MLS office. I mean, we're literally on a parallel track, as I have repeatedly said, very transparently. Mm-hmm. We are talking to our friends at Corporex. We have a memorandum of understanding regarding the development of the Ovation site. I said publicly last week that our pledge to privately fund the stadium really unlocks the potential of the Ovation site because tax increment revenues are revenues that are based on growth of prospective revenues that result from new buildings. But we have to build the stadium on the front end ahead of building all those other buildings. And so there was a gap in terms of when TIF revenues could be available to support building the stadium. But now that we're privately funding the stadium, that gap is no longer a challenge. And so all of a sudden, the Ovation site becomes very doable. I know some people have said, dating back months ago, weeks ago, why don't they just build the stadium at Ovation? There must be a problem. The problem was just a timing problem. But now that we're privately funding the stadium, there's absolutely no problems, no challenges with Newport. And we've always said that that's an exciting site. It have phenomenal views. It's a shorter walk from Newport on the Levee, or even from the parking underneath Great American Ballpark, than it would be to say walk from Crossroads to the new stadium in Oakley. So certainly there's lots of advantages to Newport. And at the end of the day, our commitment has always been we want to win the bid and bring an MLS Division I franchise to Cincinnati, the global promotion that comes with it. We're willing to invest $350 million of our own money to make it happen, and we intend to win the bid. And so, again, we've been very transparent. We're working right now 2 sites, Oakley and Newport, in order to give ourselves the absolute best chance to win a bid with one of them.
Man, I don't know how you do it, Jeff. You're just on top of everything.
Hey, and we're signing players too, right? You guys, we announced Forrest Lasso today. That's exciting. He's a great defender. We now have really a great cast of center backs between Patty and Deckel and Forrest, and we bringing back Sem and Garrett. We feel great about the depth that we're going to have at center back, and obviously, we were very excited for the opportunity that Harrison Delbridge earned through his play here. And, we're looking for great things as we follow Harrison's career. And he and I shook hands and smiled. And I said, if you ever come back to play in the States, I'm counting on you to come back to Cincinnati. And he smiled and shook hands and said, I wouldn't want to play anywhere else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know you got to run. I know you're busy with a lot going on, Jeff. We appreciate you taking a few minutes here. Tell you and your family happy Thanksgiving as well from all of us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And we look forward to catching up here again real soon.
Well, same to you guys and all your listeners. You do a great job. This is our club. I love how you guys take that ownership, and thanks for the opportunity to keep people posted.
Big thanks to Jeff Birding there joining us here. Had a chance to sit down with him a little bit earlier this afternoon and talk about what happened today with the conference call with the MLS front offices there in New York, the Hamilton County Commissioners today as well. So good stuff there from Jeff. We appreciate him being here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We want to hear from you, FC Cincinnati fans. 513-399-KICK. Are you excited about the potential stadium being built in Oakley? Are you excited about taxes? Some folks are very passionate about taxes. I don't understand, but okay, to each their own. Are you excited about the newest signings FC Cincinnati have brought in? This is your opportunity to have your say. 513-399-KICK, or get in touch with us on Twitter at Cincy Soccer Talk. So we made a big deal earlier about Forrest Lasso. There was another big signing last week, Brian. Why don't you fill folks in who might not have been on the Cincinnati Soccer Talk website?
One signing? Well, it was a couple signings, but, I think it was we had a couple signings last week. We had Daniel Haber, who's the forward, right winger, really, who came from Real Monarchs, which kind of seems to feel like that Andrew Wiedemann role, I think. He had 7 goals in 2017 for Real Monarchs, 8 goals in 2016 for Vancouver Whitecaps. So he's an Alan Koch guy, so it looks like a known commodity. They'll be able to come in right away and at least contribute. Don't know if it's in a starting 11 role or a squad player in the 18, but regardless, looks like a proven commodity in USL, which is something we're going to need to win the league. And then the other center back you heard is Paddy Barrett, who's I think he's a 24-year-old center back from Ireland, a Premier Division team, Dundalk FC, who was the Irish champions. And he also played a little bit last year at Waterford FC, which is the second division champion in Ireland. So he's a guy who's gone out there, played in some huge games. He's played in the Champions League qualifiers. He's played in the Europa League. He's played at some of the highest levels in Europe, which is a good thing. Now he's still a young player. He wasn't necessarily a starter, every game in, game out for Dundalk. But he was, pretty much their third center back. He had, talking to some of the people that we did over in Ireland, he has a couple flaws in his game, but he's still really young. And one of the things that stuck out to me is when I was talking to those guys over in Ireland, is they said that he needs kind of a mentor or somebody that's going to be able to coach him. And this signing to me makes so much sense. The fact that we have Dekel Kainen coming in from Maccabi Haifa, who might be able to mentor this player and build him up and make him into somebody that might be able to grow with the club in the future. From what I hear, fantastic player with the ball at his feet, almost as good as a midfielder. Actually, is what the words were in one of my interviews. So feel pretty good. Looks like this guy is kind of like the sky's the limit kind of player. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he fits in with Dekel, as well as today's signing Lasso.
Rob, it's become very apparent Alan Koch is building from the back. 3 center backs signed. Who knows, probably more on the way. But it's been very apparent where Alan Koch is focused early on the signings here this offseason.
That was that was one of the weak spots clearly at the end of last season. So it's good to see some of these additions come from in the back. Do kind of wonder how they might gel together, how long that might take. But I mean, these guys are have very good resumes, so they'll figure things out.
And Jeff alluded to this, the fact that Harrison Delbridge not coming back to the club, Bill. Obviously a legend here at the club, will always be a fan favorite, part of the original class of characters for this city and for the soccer team. He's, the center backs that are coming in have some pretty big shoes to fill with the loss of Delbridge.
Oh, without a doubt, and not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Harrison, had the Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi chant that people loved. The Bastards adopted him as basically their rising son. I don't know what the right term would be, but certainly, loved him and his whole family. So, it wasn't just a matter of, what he did in the back, but it was what he did off the pitch as well, and how he inspired a lot of the fans. But I don't think anybody feels bad about him leaving. I mean, it's such an incredible opportunity for him. He's going back to Australia. He's playing for the A-League. He's playing for Melbourne, which is going to be a great opportunity. And it sounds like there's some hints that maybe he's getting some attention from the national team. So we'll have to see what happens to him in the future. I loved Jeff's last comment that, that Harrison said if he comes back, he couldn't think of any other place he'd want to play but here. So obviously we've touched him as well as he's touched us. So I think it's great. So
it's a good opportunity for Delbridge. As you mentioned, he's going to go play for the Melbourne Victory. I believe they are part of the Manchester City ownership group. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. So that's a pretty big ownership group down there, down in Melbourne. I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly. There's probably a different way of saying it with the Australian accent, I'm sure. But I think the opportunity for him to play for the national team at his age, why not strike while the iron's hot? You're playing really well. Go see what you got. I think this is a great opportunity for him.
Well, I mean, a lot of American players kind of did the same thing towards the last World Cup, is moved back home to give them the best chance to play, to be seen, and get an opportunity to be on the national team. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's a good player. Do I think he's a national team player? I mean, I still think that's a pretty big stretch, but you're only young for so often, and if you have the opportunity to at least try for it, you might as well do it.
And playing there in the A-League, he's going to give, chances are the coaching staff of the national team for Australia maybe not looking at the YouTube footage of USL games, He's going to be playing in the A-League. Hopefully he gets some minutes there down in Melbourne. But I think it's a great opportunity. And, strike while the iron's hot. And you can always come back to the States. And, you're always going to have an open door here in Cincinnati. There's no question about it. So what it means is that in the 2018 season, we will have a new winner of the CST Player of the Year, because he was the two-time winner of the Player of the Year, the only winner of that award.
Fan voted.
Yeah, fan voted. And rightly so. He was a fan favorite. We're going to miss him. But we wish him nothing but the best luck. And if you're watching or listening to this, Harrison, go get him. We want to see you representing Australia, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you one night at 3 a.m. on Fox Sports 1 when they're showing A-League games. So we wish you nothing but the best of luck, Harrison. And we appreciate you being on the show so often the last couple of years. So thank you for that. So what does that mean for Austin Berry? These signings are coming in thick and fast for the center back position. And Berry is one of those names up in the air during that press conference a few weeks ago when they announced some of the roster decisions. What are your thoughts, guys? I mean, is this looking like Austin's going to be back next year, or is it looking like maybe he's going to be trying for an opportunity elsewhere?
Let's put the new guy on the spot.
All right, I'm game. It really is not looking like he'll be coming back. That back line is just too crowded with the signings that they made, and they're very good signings. So if he were to come back, I'm really not sure where he would fit into the puzzle.
Yeah, and to be fair, nothing's been said, and in theory he's still up, for possibilities. But I would say, at least at a minimum, FC Cincinnati is not planning for him to come back. They've filled the back line to be stacked without him. So whether he chooses to or not, I guess it's not looking like FC Cincinnati's planning on it.
I'd say you bring him back if you can get him at a rate that's affordable for FC Cincinnati. You're going to have Lasso, Kynan, Barrett. I think we're all not sold on DeVitt. I think he's still a little bit of a kind of a project, and that's kind of I think why we brought in Kynan a little bit. So I mean, yeah, you bring him back at the right price. Because he's still an extremely quality player at this level.
Yeah, but if you're Austin Berry, and I'm not putting words in Austin Berry's mouth here, but you want to go where you can play. And I don't know, with the additions they've brought in, that screams to me they want change there at center back.
Would you rather be at home in an environment you're happy with, or would you rather be in like a Harrisburg and getting games? I mean, Austin could go to Louisville. You never know. Austin could move to Louisville, 90 minutes south, and play games, or Pittsburgh. But, I mean, who knows where the situation's going to turn out.
Let's play this game, Bri. If you had the chance to go for the same price to go play at Louisville or sit at Cincinnati for the same wage, I think he'd stayed in Cincinnati. But because it's Louisville. But if it was another city,
yeah,
I would say he makes the jump.
If it's another city. Mm-hmm.
But
no, I think if it's another city, he'd stay. I think if he's going to go to contender, he'd maybe leave.
Well, we'll see. Keep you up to date here at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com with all the latest surrounding FC Cincinnati and the player moves. We know there are going to be a lot more coming, so stay tuned. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com for the latest. And we've been doing the guys have been doing a really good job of keeping everybody updated. Great pieces this week with the player signings. They come thick and fast. So we appreciate the guys here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk for their hard work in getting those articles out and keeping everybody who is a fan of the orange and blue abreast of what's happening. Let's talk a little bit about the stadium. And I know we had Jeff on a few minutes ago to talk about today's conversation with MLS, the statement that was put out by FC Cincinnati. I don't know what you guys thought. To me, it made it clear that MLS again stood firm on their stance that soccer-specific stadium is the best route for expansion teams moving forward. Shocker, they didn't vary off that stance. I didn't think they would. I'm just curious as to what you thought after reading the statement today and hearing Jeff's comments this evening. Do you think that the Hamilton County Commissioners, and in particular Todd Portune, has maybe shifted his thoughts from Paul Brown Stadium to, okay, we need to get a deal done so that this stadium can happen?
I think Jeff thinks so. I've thought so many times, and it seems like Todd Portune keeps coming back like a broken record. Records. People don't know what those are, do they? But yeah, anyway, we'll see. I mean, it seems positive what he said, but it's amazing to me how many times Paul Brown Stadium just keeps returning.
So this week, I think Jeff Birding and the ownership group put out some facts and figures saying over a 30-year span, FC Cincinnati would gain about a $12 million return on a stadium, whereas it would be, I want to say, it's $167 million loss or cost of staying in Paul Brown Stadium. So just as a club, it just doesn't make sense for FC Cincinnati. But the thing I want to put out there is, guys, how much do we have to show that MLS doesn't need Cincinnati? I mean, we are a good market, don't get me wrong, but they have at least two clubs out there. They're going to build stadiums. They're going to fit inside their league model. There's no reason for them to screw with their flow, screw with their business foundation, and allowing FC Cincinnati in a Paul Brown Stadium. It doesn't make sense for them, and it could leave us out of the league if our leadership just doesn't adjust to what their demands are. I mean, that's just really at the end of the day what it is, and does our county leadership really care about that?
Yeah, that's not clear.
Rob?
Sorry. For me, my biggest concern is time. It's always been time. I really don't have a stadium preference. I haven't had one really this whole time. Where you go will follow. But I just hope that they can get a deal done in time. And I'm wondering if Newport is not a possibility. If it is, I would say let's just punt and take Newport.
Well, I mean, you haven't heard anything out of Newport recently in terms of their infrastructure plan. I mean, you had the Newport city manager last week saying he hasn't heard from Corporex or FC Cincinnati. So I kind of believe that actually might not be as hopeful in terms of a solution to present to MLS. I could be wrong. Jeff Birding said pretty much otherwise, but that's just the conclusions I've drawn out on this whole thing. Now, Bill, you might be able to kind of give a good take here. So to me, it really looks like Hamilton County or the city of Cincinnati is going to have to put, I believe the facts and figures were about like $40 million into Paul Brown Stadium to make it soccer friendly. We're not even going to call it soccer specific because it's not. So soccer friendly with just moving the pitch, configuring the stadium. So is Hamilton County more comfortable with a $40 million investment that really doesn't move the needle and really doesn't help the chances of FC Cincinnati, or as a public, are we more comfortable with a $65-70 million spend of our public tax dollars for a gem of a stadium in Oakley, which might reshape a part of town, which might allow us to have more events, high school concerts. I mean, it's like a $30 million, $20 million difference for new gem of a building. So I just don't understand what the holdup is here.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of people that just continuously bring up the no taxes thing, and they're just like, I don't want to spend any money on a stadium. I refuse to spend money on a stadium. We already have stadiums. And then they don't seem to have any issue at all with the fact that there's a huge price tag on getting the stadium ready. And I know they keep bringing up, hey, when this was designed, it was supposed to be soccer ready. Well, that was 20 years ago. 20 years ago for soccer then, 20 years for soccer, or soccer today are different. Not only that, but the stadium's gone through changes. The stadium's aged, and it's not prepared at this point. So, I mean, they've done that exercise. They've come up with a list of what would have to happen. And the price tag is like you said, it's like $40 million is what I heard. I think Todd kind of changed it from 40 to 15 in the middle of his speech because they probably have an idea of a smaller amount of stuff that needs to happen, but you don't take a stadium and half do it and try to get into the MLS. That doesn't make sense. If you're going to do it, you got to do it.
Because that's a real big selling point that's going to help our team, our club, get into the league. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't understand the concept. People pushing Paul Brown Stadium, thinking somehow that's a savings, because maybe it's a little bit of a savings, but it's not that much of a savings. And the reality is the MLS has made it clear it's a no go. And what's the point of spending $40 million to not win?
And one of the things that came out last week, after the commissioners had their press conference, the city of Cincinnati Mayor Cranley actually announcing, I believe it was on Friday. No, it was Wednesday of last week. The fact that they were going to announce, or maybe I'm confusing. I think that was the day of the commissioners. Yeah, there was the commissioners on Wednesday. Friday, I think, is when Mayor Cranley announced his stuff for the city to vote on. Eventually, down the road here in a few weeks, announced his plan. And it sounds like there are quite a few council members that are on board. Probably some still undecideds, but there's one in particular who is not on board and had some interesting comments on Twitter regarding that. Councilman Seelbach, where do we go from here? I mean, his comments were pretty ridiculous. In other words, he doesn't want the county to spend taxpayer money to make white men richer. I thought that was pretty absurd, the take there. But when you saw that, I mean, how do you respond to something as ludicrous as that?
Well, Councilman, this is coming from a position of, I feel like I'm a little bit of knowledge in our base. I'd say, Councilman, have you looked at the business owners in our ownership group and how much they've done? A couple of different business owners in particular who've done for our city that aren't necessarily in that demographic he listed. It just doesn't seem like an educated response out of somebody who, as a councilman, is one of our elected officials, and I would hold to a higher standard of debate, and he clearly didn't meet that.
I think we're losing Brian.
Yeah. I need water.
Bourbon. You need bourbon.
Yeah. What do you make, Bill?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think whenever you bring up race, I think you have to be careful, right? We obviously have a lot of issues with racism in this country. To try to tag yourself into that, I think in a very inappropriate manner is kind of underhanded and yucky, in my opinion. Obviously, we have wealthy owners of this club who are not white. So to try to use that card to win votes or to win attention to yourself, to me is just it's weak and as Brian said, really unbefitting of a councilman.
Rob, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I wonder if that's something that he didn't exactly think through when he was saying. I just wonder if he would maybe like to have those words back now.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. The vitriol he's received on Twitter since then, I don't know, some of it might be a little over the top. Some of it might be well-deserved. But that's the day of social media. You got to watch what you tweet, right, Bri?
Oh, man. Not kidding.
Yep, Twitter never goes away.
No, it does not. And I believe this is the same councilman that said that the FC Cincinnati Stadium tweeted back in May that the stadium belongs in Cincinnati. So it's amazing how quickly a politician flip-flopped. Shocker, right?
Yep.
Never.
So, yes, it's been an interesting few weeks.
It's amazing,
to say the least. Go ahead, Bill.
But before the election, he thought it needed to be in Cincinnati. After the election, he wants it no new taxes. So
usually, wouldn't it be the other way around?
It depends on who you think is going to be voting for you or against you, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, today it was announced that former Mayor Mark Malley was going to be lobbying for the stadium. So I'm interested to see if this changes at all, and those words might bite him in the long run.
We'll see what happens. But, of course, stay tuned to the latest surrounding the stadium as Brian's still hacking up a lung over there. You got to quit smoking, Brian, man. That's a rough habit there. I'm kidding, of course. But stay tuned to Cincinnati Soccer Talk for all the latest and greatest news surrounding FC Cincinnati. I alluded to it earlier in the show. We welcomed Rob Pierce to the podcast, making his debut, and we didn't really get a chance to get a full introduction to Rob. because we had Forrest on the show so quickly. So, Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you. Introduce yourself a little further. Talk about your background. I know you are from that school down south in Athens, Ohio, which I really despise.
Boom.
I hate having another Bobcat here on the cast, but I'm kidding, of course. But you have a journalism background.
Yes.
So let's talk a bit. How did you get involved in journalism, and what made you want to come back?
Well, went to Ohio University, graduated from the E.W. Scripps School of Journalism a long time ago, 2000. Got it working into a couple daily newspapers, West Virginia, South Carolina, came back to Ohio up in Sandusky, up in your neck of the woods, kind of anyway. And then kind of worked my way down trying to get back to Cincinnati. The newspaper market wasn't exactly the best. So currently I am at the IRS.
Oh, no. I gotta watch out.
I'm just a paper pusher. I just push things around. I don't have any real authority or anything like that. But
Like a bureaucrat.
So, I really wasn't a soccer fan at all until FCC came around. My dad, big EPL guy, loves his Premier League. And so we just kind of went to a game on a whim. Was that freezing game against Pittsburgh last May. And I just kept asking him questions and then just got progressively hooked. Ever since, we went to a few games, kind of waffled on season tickets. We decided, okay, we'll buy season tickets. Wound up in the GA, general admission, and then just on Friday, took advantage of the seat improvement opportunity, and I am now in the Bailey.
Nice.
Yes, so I'm very excited about that. The few games that I did go to in 2016, those were in the Bailey, so I do have a sense of what that is all about. But my main circle of friends, they're not soccer fans, and my dad comes with me and he marches with me, but he's more interested in the EPL. So you guys are really the only chance I have to talk FCC. So, it's Thanksgiving. What I'm thankful for most is to be a part of the Cincinnati Soccer Talk family. And this has been like a revival or resurrection or however you want to say it of my life as a reporter. So I'm thankful for that as well.
Well, we're thankful to have you on board. There's no question about it. And we're going to get to what we will be thankful for in regards to FC Cincinnati here in just a moment. But for folks who haven't checked it out, Rob, why don't you talk about the piece you wrote about Mitch's new beer?
Yeah, I'm sure like most of our listeners, I enjoy a craft beer or two. And so when I saw on social media that Mitch was going to be working with Listerman to create a series of beers, I thought, well, this is perfect. We're combining FC Cincinnati and craft beer. I mean, this is a perfect story idea. So I jumped at the opportunity, and we were talking. I interviewed Mitch, interviewed the guy from Listerman, and everything came together very well. That was a fun piece to write.
And you did a good job of it. Make sure you check it out. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
I said, did you get to try any of the beer?
I did not, unfortunately. They had just canned it the week before, and they said some technical term, I think can shock is what it's called, and it needed to sit. The guy from Listerman said that they really didn't have any proof that other than what our taste buds experience, but it just had to sit. So, I mean, even Mitch didn't get to try it until the night of the big night of the opening.
You learn something new every day. There's a thing called can shock. I had no idea. But it was a good piece. You did a really good job of it. If you want to check it out, log on to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Bill, what are you thankful for this year?
Oh, hit me up with that. What am I thankful for? All the usual things, the friends and family that I've met here at FCC. I just recently went in and was interviewed with Tom Galerter and Fourth Floor Creative.
Oh, yeah, I saw the pictures of that.
Yeah, they were talking to fans and just asking them about their experiences. And, in all honesty, one of the things I said to him was, FCC, it's like a big family. I mean, these are people that I've met. You guys, everyone here, Rob now. I mean, new guy on this show, but this is a group that we go out to lunch together. We talk to each other all day long on group chat. Sorry that you don't get to go to lunch with us, Subs, but
I'm a little bitter. Can you tell?
But one day,
someday, right?
But the point is that it's not just about one day a week showing up for an hour and talking soccer. It's beyond that. It's become family. It's become friends. I truly expect whatever happens with FCC, whatever happens with each of us and our jobs and our careers and whatever, that you guys are people that I'm going to be talking to for the rest of my life. So I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for all the other people I've met through this, the Knights, the Drums. It's been a phenomenal group. True friends. So.
Well said,
Happy
Bill. I
Thanksgiving
like
all.
that. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Bri, what are you thankful for? Are you able to speak now?
Barely. Thankful for Forrest Lasso, Blood Orange IPA, never seeing the Black Kits anymore. No, kind of everything what Bill said. Just loved it. Something to do with a bunch of new friends, and thankful for that we get to experience this hopefully into the foreseeable future.
And I know you kind of mentioned it already, Rob, that you're thankful for CST. Is there anything else you're thankful for in relation to FC Cincinnati?
The entire club from top to bottom. The people, the ticket office, they do a tremendous job. Social media, public relations, all the way up to Jeff Birding and Carl Linder. Cannot thank these guys enough for what they've been able to bring to the city and to the community. And I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a soccer team here.
Yeah, I would say if I had to give, my list is a little long. I'm super thankful for the fact that there's a soccer team here in Cincinnati because I'd be stuck watching football, and it's been brutal in Cincinnati. Although the Bengals won over the weekend, don't know how, but they got me out of a rut. I had been podcasting for 6 years about the same old Bengals, playing great, losing in primetime games, losing in the first round of the playoffs. It was a big rut. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed that podcast, every minute of it, but this provided a fresh start, and I would not have traded it for the world. I mean, this has been an absolute blast, hosting the show, the website, bringing together all kinds of people from different walks of life to cover the team, to chat about FC Cincinnati. Every single member of Cincinnati Soccer Talk is family to me. They will always be family to me, and I'm truly blessed and thankful for the guys here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm thankful to Jeff Birding. The fact that we have a good relationship with the front office, I think is good. I think we also at times probably we need to do a good job of reporting and getting stuff out there a little sooner. But we all have jobs and it's difficult. We can't all be full-time reporters down at practice every day. Wouldn't that be nice, though? I know Brian wants to do that.
Yes.
But seriously, I think I speak for everybody that we sincerely appreciate everybody tuning in. I know I mentioned last week on the show, we're extremely thankful for Fumi, who is the media relations director from FC Cincinnati. Fumi Kimura, she's leaving. We're going to really miss her. She's moving on to, I believe, Pittsburgh. Not the team, but she's just moving to the city. But we are going to certainly miss her, so we're thankful for her. But most importantly, I think we would all agree that we're super thankful for the fans of the show, the folks who tune in every single week. They tune in live. We can see the comments on YouTube. We can see the comments on Facebook, the tweets, the emails. I mean, it's incredible to see where this show has gone in just a short amount of time. And believe it or not, we're not that far away. We're 8 episodes away from 100. Now, we've probably already done 100 episodes, but we kept the numerical sequence for the main show every week. But we've got a big episode coming up here. I think it'll be in January if my math is correct. So we should start doing something special for that. So I'm going to throw that question out to our listeners and to our fans. What do you want us to do for the 100th episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk? That's your call to action this week. Email us feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. All right, it's time to begin to wrap things up here on episode 92. I'll start with the new guy, Rob Pierce. Your final thoughts as we wrap up.
My final thoughts, the stadium saga is ongoing. Supporters feel worn out. This whole process has been an ordeal, but I can't even imagine to imagine what this whole thing is doing to Jeff Birding and the Hamilton County Commissioners and Cincinnati City Council. Like I said earlier, I think Chris Seelbach probably wishes he could have a few words back. We all want what's best for the city. We all have different ideas of what that is: a soccer stadium, not a soccer stadium, how the soccer stadium should work. You should make your voices heard, absolutely. But when you do, please be polite and respectful. In the past, I've called my congressman, Brad Winstrip, to complain about political issues. But yelling and cursing gets nowhere. And I'm not saying there's been a problem. I'm not saying that. I know that people have done that. I really have no idea. But your voice is best heard when it's reasonable. That's it. Thanks for breaking me in, Subes, and I'll definitely come back and do this again.
Oh, I was just about to ask Brian if you think he did he earn his keep? Can he come back, Brian?
Hell yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. You did a great job, Rob, and we appreciate you being on the show this week. You did a really good job. And
Thank you.
Even though you have a face for radio, you're just like all of us. We all have faces for radio. That's why we do podcasts, right? You can't see us on the podcast. No, I'm kidding. But thank you again. We appreciate you being with us, and you did a good job, man.
Thank you.
Let's head over now to the one and only Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Your final thoughts?
I have 3 final thoughts.
Okay.
The first is that you didn't do the wolf howl, so I feel really like
You did earlier.
oh, just kidding. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just kidding. So the other one was I was just scanning through Twitter, and I don't know how I missed it today, but they said they came out with FCC announcing that the shop has winter orange and blue gear. So now I've got to get down there and buy something FC Cincinnati for winter. So there we go. But then beyond that, just as far as my true final thoughts, we've heard a lot of signings. Obviously, we've heard 3 center backs and probably a wing player, kind of, as Brian said, an Andrew Wiedemann replacement. I think that people are getting impatient, worrying about goalkeepers and centers and strikers, and just relax. Obviously, the club is not going to announce everybody at once. They're going to kind of, hand it to us one bite at a time.
Control the news cycle.
But also let us appreciate each person they sign. If they throw a bunch of them at us, then it's just a bunch of noise. And I think they'd like each person to stand on their own and be somebody that we can get excited about or at least interested in. So, they're building out of the back like you would in a soccer game. They're going to build their team out of the back. So we've been hearing about center backs. I'm sure we're going to start hearing about midfielders soon. And then, they're going to be talking to strikers and goalkeepers eventually. But it's all coming. It's all been exciting so far. So let's just be patient and just enjoy the ride.
Good stuff, Bill, as always. And I'll give you one more. There you go. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Last but not least, and I'm working on it. I have to find the audio, but I'm working on a little sound ditty for Brian Weigel. Your final thoughts as we get out of here, Brian?
Yeah, hashtag Angry Brian wants to congratulate. I'd like to congratulate the FC Cincinnati subreddit for getting 3,000 followers. Congratulations to everybody on there, especially the leadership, the moderators. That actually, it's not a garbage webpage, so I do actually want to 100% compliment them on keeping that. Happy birthday to Justin Hoyt. And then when you guys hear everything going on with FC Cincinnati and all the people, basically saying like FC Cincinnati is entitled and FC Cincinnati is only trying to increase their value of their organization and all stuff, just remember that FC Cincinnati is in the process of redoing, I think it's like 12 like futsal courts around the city. I think that's what the goal is. And also the fact that they've donated over $150,000 back to local organizations this year. So yeah, think about that when you're talking about an entitled group of people here on. So yeah, final thoughts.
Plastic, right?
Yeah, plastic. Since he's so plastic.
Oh, man. Good stuff, Bri. As always, appreciate it. My final thoughts as we get out of here. Again, big thanks to Jeff Birding stopping by on short notice this evening. Big thanks to Forrest Lasso. Again, super thankful. I can't stress this enough. Incredibly thankful for all of our supporters. We're really glad you're on board with us. As I mentioned last week, we don't get paid to do this. Right now, the show, the money that we bring in is enough to cover the costs. And so we do this out of the love for the game, out of the love for FC Cincinnati, and we do this for the love of our fans and supporters. So if you have a moment, if you got some spare change laying around, help support us over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. And if you don't want to help us out financially, that's totally fine. We understand. You can always rate and review the show on iTunes. That's one way you can support our show without financially contributing. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/iTunes is where you can do that. Our big thanks to our episode captain, Brian Malone, as well. Brian, thank you for your support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. That's going to do it for this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. My thanks to Bill Wolf, Brian Weigel, and Rob Pierce for joining me this week. I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving, and we'll see you all next week.